Hello, Yamo. You're welcome. Serious Banter.
And we are live. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again
Thanks for
this week. This is another week of serious banter, and today we are going to be talking about currency fluctuation. And we have a very interesting and capable panel today, and really excited to learn on the panel today. My guy Justin is here, and is my captain on this matter. So he'll be doing a lot of the talking about me. I'm just observing while my guys here are doing justice to the topic. So like we always do, we like to talk about topics that people are really talking about that catches people's attention. We talk about it in a serious manner, but we also make light of what we can. And we're very excited today to have the caliber panel that we have, and hopefully people will learn a lot and also be able to contribute. So, like we normally do, before we get going and get people to introduce themselves, I would like to hear from Justin. Well, I kind of want to get your pulse before we dive deep into the topic and the matter at hand. And what are your expectations and what would you like to get out of this today?
All right, thanks, Bola. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday at Serious Banter. Without much ado, so why are we talking about currency fluctuation today? As we always do, like Bola said, we want to talk about the things that affect us, the things that affect our daily lives. These are serious issues, but we believe that we can discuss the serious issues without the seriousness in the moment. I think it's easier to appreciate when we break things down like that. So, I mean, currency is one thing that affects everybody's life. I mean, if you go to buy Gary now, the Gary seller will probably be telling you, "Oga price don't
Dollar
double."
to
But now,
one.
why price? Why price double? You could say dollar don't go up. So that's always been one pet peeve for me. Why is it that everything is dollar? You touch this, so even mechanic, you want to vulcanize your tire, you have a flat tire, you stop. They say it used to be 200 now, it's now 500. What's happen? Oga dollar don't go up. So
Dollar. Don't you know
yeah,
the
so
vulcanizer has his own dealer? Don't you know he has his own dollar, his own for FX forex dealer?
you
This is
know,
not only you get one.
so that's the thing. So this is something that affects everybody. I don't think there's any Nigerian you can talk to. We're probably one of those countries where people are the most acutely aware of currency fluctuations in their day-to-day lives. So this informs the topic for today, and it also informs the people that we invited to talk about it. So I'm not going to be hogging the mic today because between Dr. Jackson, Yamo, and Tokumbo, with what they do in their day-to-day, they are more than able to dissect the issues. And let's have a conversation about how did we get to, so setting the tone, how did we get to where we are today? Um, as a kid, I remember back in the 80s, we didn't have this crazy disparity between the Naira valuation and the dollar valuation. In fact, I may not have lived that, but it's something I'm aware of. That there was a time when the exchange ratio was reversed, right? So with your Naira, you got more dollars. So in this conversation, we hope that we can trace the history of how did things become so bad progressively. Some time ago, I had cause to look at a chart that tracked progression. In fact, I was trying to look for that chart because I saw it online so that we could share the screen but I'll share it in the chat, in the comment section. If you look at the progression of the Naira's devaluation, if I can coin a phrase like progression of devaluation, it's a downward slope. It's a very steep downward slope or upward slope, depending on how you chart it, right? And it's been constant. It's something you can almost bet on. And one question that boggles the mind for me is always, in and of itself, this is not a bad thing. But there are certain things that should unlock the value in having a weak currency versus the reserve currency of the world, right? Where none of the pieces of the puzzle are fitting together. So we have a currency that's weak against the dollar, but then we are not taking advantage of the potential. We're not leveraging the potential advantages of having something that is weak against the international reserve currency. Why and how did we get here? What are the factors at play in the past 4 years? I mean, which will be very, very, very fresh in people's memories. We've seen policy decisions that beg the question, right? So this is the conversation that we want to have. With that, Bola, back to you, and let's do the usual self-introduction. So guys, we share the profiles before the show, but we let people introduce themselves as serious fans.
Yeah, we are kind of lazy on this show, so we don't know how to introduce people. So what we do is we allow people to introduce themselves. And if you are feeling, generous, you can tell us one or two.
So what is Justin drinking?
Okay, it's not your Glenfiddich, I promise you that. It's not your Glenfiddich.
Let's see,
It's not your Glenfiddich.
So that let's all be sure that we're on the same page. Let the people not be them. Because that's how exchange rate problem starts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no problem.
So we'd like everyone to start, maybe give us one or two interesting things about themselves that we may not know. And so we have time, typically we'll start, and then the conversation will enter everyone's body, and then no one wants to leave. So hopefully we'll have a very interesting conversation today. So maybe talking about, do you want to get us going? Yamo, I'm sure she's probably I think she's having some connection issues, but she'll join us shortly. I don't know if you know much about me, but I'm a Lagos guy, and I cannot ignore your last name. But we'll talk in camera. We'll talk in camera later.
It's a lie. That's how exchange problem starts to tell us.
There is no camera talking anything. Everybody has to.
Exactly.
Please. I don't want my elders to call me to question. All right, so get us going, Tokumba.
Sure. Thanks, Bola. So my name is Tokumba Kiyomi Jr. The junior is there because of what Bola was referring to. My dad, well-known politician in Lagos. So I try to carve my way out of his name using the junior. So I am the editor-in-chief of Steers Business. Steers Business is a media publication that is vigorous and a full champion of high-quality journalism and top information for our audience. Before that, I was an economist at the UK government for about 2 to 3 years, working in the Department for International Trade. So I'm an economist by trade and academia, but I'm not an editor-in-chief. Things you might not know about me. Well, I had a brief stint as a child actor. I was on the KKB show for quite a while, and I've also featured on the Milo tin for about 5 years. In Nigeria and Ghana. So just a few random stuff there.
Thank you. Who was good? Doctor? Let's allow...
Why me? Why me? What have I done?
So Justin, you in fact, this show today is all your fault because you didn't do normal. Because you're supposed to see how this...
You understand? But I understand.
I understand. I'm with you.
Because of the way you have presented this case, so let's not allow anything to create further devaluation or depreciation. Let me just
of justice currency.
Thank you, Martin.
Yes.
Thank you, Martin.
Yes. Okay, so my name is Jeku Ozemene. I'm an ex-banker, now a consultant. I used to work with Access Bank. Between Access Bank and GT Bank, I spent 20 years of my career. I spent about almost 70 years in Access Bank. Within that period, I used to be the head of Access Bank's Global Financial Markets Group, which covers debt and equity capital markets, structured finance, project finance, specialized finance, all those sexy stuff that they used to confuse people.
Give us dollar.
At some point, I was MD of Access Bank Zambia. I was DMD of Access Bank Rwanda. I currently sit on the board of Business Partners International East Africa. Business Partners International won the global SME Bank of the Year award. So I sit on the board of East Africa, which covers 3 African countries, and moving into another 4 African countries next year. What else? What do people not know about me?
That he was my guy in the bank. That's another thing that people don't know about.
Okay, I was okay, but you know how these things are now. The man don't pass me since, so I'm happy for him. So I used to Tokumba, I used to belong to a theater group known as Theater 15, University of Lagos. I was a coordinator.
Okay.
The other Tokumbo was a member.
Ah.
Right, yeah. So
This show, I don't have for this show. We'll bring people on without knowing they know anything about each other, and then we'll start finding out stuff on the channel. Like,
so I used to act. I didn't do much of acting, but I was a playwright. I used to direct plays. I used to do lights and special effects. People would never know that. I trained under one of the best. Duro, one of the best lights and special effects guys in Nigeria back in the day. What some people know, yesterday I realized that I wrote this collection of poetry in 2009, which I now hate so much. I mean, I write some stuff and I can't go back and read it. I'm like, it's so awful, right? And I just found out yesterday that it's actually a recommended text in a school in the UK, right? Some school in Milton Keynes, right? So that blew my mind totally, and they have been using it for the past 5 years. So I learned that yesterday.
You have 2 publications. Which of them?
So the first one, Shadows of Existence.
Shadows of Existence.
Right? Okay. Yes, that's the anthology of so. And I have this other collection of poems that I've been so embarrassed to publish. But having realized that apparently some people appreciate the old one, I now want to go ahead and publish this.
That's how markets. That's how markets typically work. That's how markets work. It's what they want, they will take from you. All right. Thank you, Doctor. Yamo, please do us the honor, and then we can dive into the main domain.
So I think my internet decided to embarrass me as we went live. So I think I missed the prompt, but so I'm saying about myself, what I do, and something people don't know about me, right?
Sort of like that. Just introduce us. Oh, welcome. We are your guests now, so welcome us into the living room.
Let me sound like Nigerian police. May we know you?
Hi everyone. I'm I'm Yamo. I'm the co-founder and COO at Bamboo, an online brokerage service that gives Africans access to the global investment options. What about me that people don't know? So I'm actually a chemical engineer. So everything I know about finance, I learned I guess for myself. We have the internet now, so it's different. So yeah, I'm actually a chemical engineer.
When it's not embarrassing you, it's educating you.
Exactly.
So when it's not embarrassing you, it's educating you.
I said yes, exactly. So it works. And yeah, that's what else about me? It's interesting. I mean, at Bamboo, we're just trying to give everyone access to investment options. I think it's important. Something else interesting about me is that I really like money. And that's how I feel like we might all have that in common. And so that's well, I think you're a mute.
I don't like money. I'm quoting a minister.
Okay. Well.
May this comment not come back and haunt me.
Sorry, guys, I have a flask of water here. Water. I just
we know it's water. We know.
Sure.
We know.
No, it's water.
H2. In fact, spring water.
Babajide, nobody's bankrolling us. There's no dollar. But Babajide said he used to Justin and Dr. Jeko are both his organs from the bank. So I wanted to make sure that I let you guys know that he's in the house. So
Babajide, you're asking who is bankrolling us. What sort of insolent question is that? Jeko, can you imagine this small boy? Can we give him the treatment?
But this is the kind of thing that created that problem at the Soka Front in 1968. Remember that problem?
Very serious problem.
All
right. Before we enter problem, let's start.
She likes money. I want to hold on to that thought. That liking money, this thing, because it's a very key aspect of the discussion we're going to have today.
All right.
I like markets.
All right. So let's get things cracking. I don't know who wants to go first. This dollar problem. I call it currency problem, but we all know that it's dollar. Everybody's looking for dollar. Everybody's short of dollar. Where are we coming from? And let's just frame what is your opening thoughts about what are your opening thoughts about this whole thing? Tokumbo, can you get us going?
No problem. Well, there are many things in economics that are complicated. Many, this one isn't so much, and the reason is that the reason why Nigeria is in this exchange rate situation that it is because on one side you have demand and the other side you have supply, and unfortunately for us, the demand for dollar consistently exceeds the demand, the supply of it. And it all has to do with our trade. Nobody wants Naira to do anything. There's no, what do you need Naira to do, right? We don't sell anything that's of value to the world that they will need to change it into Naira to get the exchange rate. So, I mean, our main export is oil. And unfortunately for us, oil is priced in dollars. So the stuff we sell as well is not even in Naira. So we're not even trying to get people on board, with demanding the Naira. I mean, it goes all the way from people outside to even people within the country. I know people that immediately their salary drops, they are changing it into dollars on the back of
really.
Oh yeah, on the back of I anticipate that the Naira will get worse, and so I'll change it to dollars, and then later on I'll change it back to Naira and gain whatever difference has been made, right? So you have individuals in the country, running away from Naira. You have investors outside, trying to also speculate on the Naira. It all comes down to who actually wants the Naira to do anything. And the answer, unfortunately, is nobody. And until we fix that problem, we're always going to be here. Always.
Tokumbo, I remember when somebody told you, this same thing, it was a problem. We have to be very careful.
Is it a Malemungu situation?
Yeah, you have to be very careful.
So that's it. I mean,
please, I can't find you. Before you see the last business one was online.
DSS.
But Tokumbo, can I ask a question on that point?
Sure.
Do you think them trying to control the exchange rate makes it worse? Because I posit that people wouldn't be trying to change their money once salary comes if the exchange rate was floating or whatever. But because you can wake up, you can fall asleep with 360 Naira and wake up in the morning to 490 Naira.
Yeah.
Then you're more on edge. In other climes, should we say, if you fell asleep with 360, maybe you wake up is 362.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to whether you think
it's a very good point, and it's ironic actually, because the countries that have freely floating exchange rates, like they change by the second, it's 3, it's 1 point something today, is 1 point, like those countries actually see way less devaluations and currency attacks than the countries that have fixed exchange rates. The countries that have fixed exchange rates, speculators love fixed exchange rate regimes, because it's a case of attacking it, selling the currency. You fight against the central bank, and eventually you get that big change from 360 to 400 and something. Those dramatic changes don't happen with freely floating exchange rates, because by the day they change depending on demand and supply. But here, because the central bank is involved, there is that extra opportunity to make big, 20%, 30% gains if you attack the currency enough. And unfortunately for Nigeria, there are many people attacking the currency, like I said, from abroad and even within the country. I'm sure you'd have seen the CBN always say, "Oh, speculators beware, speculators beware." That is a very, very big chunk of why we keep getting to this problem. There are speculators that love the fact that they can make 20 to 30% gain in 1 month or 2, depending on the crisis Nigeria has. And it is because our currency is fixed. That's not to say that a fixed exchange is the word. I'm not trying to say that a floating exchange will be better for Nigeria, but I am saying that throughout history and throughout all countries, fixed exchange rates, they see a lot more attacks from speculators and those big changes.
How do we correlate China's experience?
The thing is, what China did was that they actually created stuff that people wanted to buy.
Aha. So let's
pack that point. Just pack it.
Let's hold on a bit. So Justin, in your introduction, you said earlier that the exchange rate, we had never witnessed this level of dissonance, the disconnect between the official exchange rates, right, and the parallel market rates, right? But that's not true. This is about the third time we are witnessing it. We witnessed it in 83 to 85. There was a significant disconnect from about, I think, about 57 Naira to the dollar, while the parallel market was doing about 1 Naira something. It was firm, that united it about 3 Naira something, right? We witnessed it under Abacha. Yes, we witnessed it under Abacha when the official exchange rate was about 22 Naira thereabout, and parallel market was about 80 something Naira. That's the worst disconnect that we've had, right? And then we then witnessed it in 2016. Okay, so this is the fourth time that we're witnessing it. Okay, so Yemo said something about managing the exchange rate. How on earth can you control something you don't produce? The demand far outstrips the supply. So unless we then have a franchise from the Fed to print greenback, then we can manage it. But we don't print it. We don't print it. So this is, guys, this is what I tell people. You know what we are trying to do, this administration is trying to do, is actually to restructure our economy. The only reason why they have not called it, I think, structural has a bad aura around it from SAP. Yes, from SAP. But everything they are doing right now is as if you look at the SAP playbook, is as if they're doing is the same thing. But guess what? They are doing exactly the same thing and making exactly the same mistakes. So Tokumbo said earlier that China got out of this problem by producing, all right? They started producing a lot of things. Earlier today, for a very long time, I've been having debates with people about the Dangote refinery. The first debate I had at the very beginning was that Dangote would sell at market price, right? Hold on. And they said, no, it's not possible, Now, everybody has agreed they will sell at market price. The other myth is that you will conserve FX. That we are going to produce, because we are producing that. First of all, there's hardly anything we produce in Nigeria that's competitive, because the cost of doing business here is high. You see, that some of those fundamental things that we need to address. When we talk about encouraging people to export, right? For them to export the stuff now, the thing has to be competitive. The people who are selling me their own out there, that they don't. Correct. So our rice is one of the most expensive rice in the world. This rice that Nigeria is one of the most expensive places to buy rice in the world. So let's assume that there's rice in Kano, a lot of rice. So let's assume that we even manufacture, we get to a point where we are self-sufficient in rice, and then we now want to export. I know I may be people should help me or pardon me, because there was something Justin was supposed to do, he didn't do. So I may be all over the place, but somehow I'll come. So see guys, there's a problem of that Tokumbo has mentioned, that we're not producing enough, right? Because we need to produce so that what we produce will reduce our cost of the FX we spend in importing, and then be enough for us to export and earn FX, right? Yeah. So that's one. The second thing, right, is that the second thing is that the gap the gap, oil still accounts for maybe about 90% of our FX earnings, right? 90%. I'll tell you guys something that's interesting. One of the things that SAP was supposed to achieve was to rebalance it. So when SAP started in 1986, we had about, oil was accounting for about 73% of our FX earnings. So all that thing about import substitutions, etc., was supposed to rebalance it, and manufacturing and agri was supposed to cover up. By the time we ended SAP in 92, oil was accounting for about 80-something%. So it actually deteriorated. So
SAP
this is what
structural adjustment program, right? For
structural adjustment program
from non-Nigerians. Okay.
Yes. So SAP was an excellent
for
idea.
the Malians.
Yes. SAP was an excellent idea.
The military ones or the Afrobeat ones? I don't know, because we have
Afrobeat Malians.
Okay.
New trade policies, import substitutions, etc. But what they didn't factor in there, and of course, we always talk about agric. Agric is so sexy. So everybody go to the farm, do agric, blah, blah, blah. Throughout the duration of SAP, agriculture's contribution to our GDP increased.
Yeah.
For the 6 years that we had SAP, agriculture, however,
you people to take time, please. Now only two people did my mama hand, though.
Even see my macho now. If I can actually go.
Well, able-bodied. What are you talking? We're able-bodied.
So guys, let me tell you something that is. This is what I tell everybody. There are two sides to it. So there's GDP, right? GDP is total production or whatever in there. So if GDP improves, it's assumed, right, that the life of the populace will also improve, right? But that's not what generates government revenue. What generates government revenue is tax, right? So you can actually have a situation where GDP is increasing, but government revenue is not increasing. And that's what we had under SAP.
Because of inefficiencies in collection and all of that.
Yes, because we have a situation, we have an economy, right, where just about maybe 30 or 40% of the GDP impacts on government revenue. Again, that's why that fallacy of we have a low GDP debt to GDP ratio, so we can borrow. That's one of the most illiterate things that any person can say. Understand Nigeria. That's one of the most illiterate. Sorry, don't be annoyed.
Dr. Jack just gave it all the firepower today.
Let me hold myself back. Because
we do it small.
So when you school in Obodo, when you school abroad, right? When you have a situation where almost the entirety of the GDP impacts on government revenue because the taxation is efficient, then you can talk to debt GDP ratio, because you know that if production increases, government revenue and taxation will increase. But in our situation where most of that, especially when it was subsistence farming under SAP, and same thing that we are finding today, subsistence farming and then tax, agriculture has a 5-year tax, is it tax holiday? What is it? For agriculture and agricultural products. While it's increasing, there will be little or no impact on government revenue. And then it has to increase to the point where you start exporting so that you earn FX, correct? So it increase to the point where it reduces your FX burden in importation, and then you begin to earn FX for it to compensate for the shortfall on oil revenue. None of what we are doing can achieve that. And this is exactly the playbook we had in 1984 to 1992. No difference. Let me allow, there's a way Tokumbo is looking at me with bad eye. I don't like it. I'm not
let's get on. Yamo. Dr. Jack, please, be calming down first.
Let me drink water.
Yeah, please drink water.
But are you ready for DSS to come and carry your shoe?
We'll say that again. I didn't hear it.
I said, are you ready for DSS to come and carry your shoe away?
First of all,
Don't
worry.
Let me answer for him.
I've briefed the oracle about they did our show. They come here where
No,
we invite
but you
them.
know, the thing is, this is not knocking the administration. This is talking about the stuff as it is. This is the real deal,
this
right?
is pure economics and pure
Yeah.
facts, like self-assessment of what's going on, and I really appreciate everyone's honesty.
But let me ask you a question. Okay, Yamo, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, because if you put together as what Tokumbo said about, China worked because they essentially produced stuff the rest of the world wanted. And what Dr. Jacob said, which is the fact is, even if Nigeria today started producing what the rest of the world technically wanted, nobody will buy it because it's cheaper to buy from other people. And I feel like at the end of the day, all our economic problems, all Nigeria's problems boil down to power. Because people don't have lights. So you can't efficiently produce anything when you're because even if you're doing everything, if leg for leg with the rest of the world, you're competing with people that you have diesel costs that people in America, people elsewhere just don't have. So there's that factor that we want to look into. But I think especially on this import-export thing, where you can start to manipulate, where you now start trying to manipulate economics. And I think that's what this administration is trying to do is they've recognized Tokumbo's point that for FX to balance, supply and demand means we need to start producing things. But rather than doing it efficiently, what everyone seems to try to do is, okay, ban everything. So if we ban everything and you can't import anything, then you don't need no pressure on the dollar. And all of us here will just use.
Yeah, but are they banning everything though?
Use Nigeria
because what I see happening is we come out and say, oh, we are not providing FX for category XYZ. And then the next day you hear that 5 or 6 people have been given exclusive licenses or authorizations to access FX for those things. So what exactly is the play here? Are you simply aggregating that demand and concentrating it in a few people? Or are you actually truncating the demand in order to meet your strategic objectives? And what is really the strategic objective here? Tokumbo, stop biting your tongue.
I'm curious.
That was not my question. That was the question I was actually about to ask Tokumbo and Dr. Jacob. That what is the goal? That with this whole FX thing, what exactly is the goal?
Okay, so let me tell you. Let me share with you.
And out of curiosity, with 360,
we want an education. Where are we going?
Okay, so let me tell you.
What I want you to play.
And why 360? I'm curious as well.
Dr. Jacob, what I want you to play is help me, indulge me quickly. Enter the government and take Minister of Finance role and tell us what they're trying to do. Give us, enter the government. Let's say you infiltrated the government.
Okay, so let me tell you what we are trying to do. I'll tell you what I think is the problem, and I'll tell you what we're trying to do. I think we're still approaching the issues around our economy like the 6 blind men of Hindustan who went to see an elephant. So one says, "Oh,
shots fired."
So one says, "Oh, an elephant is like a wall." The other one touches the tusk and says, "Oh, an elephant is like a spear." And the other one touches the tail and says, "Oh, the elephant is like a rope." But none of them knows what the entirety of an elephant looks like. So in Igbo, we have a saying. Days when we used to have tires used to have 2. They will say "ana patch on a leak." So as you have patched a tube, it's leaking for another.
I don't know what that means, but I think I have an idea. Okay. So now let me tell you what I think we are trying to achieve. We are trying to ramp up local manufacturing, right? So that because there is a lot of pressure on. First of all, there's a drop in our FX earnings. Crude, like we all agreed, and provides about 90% of our FX earnings. So it has crashed significantly, right? So we want to conserve that FX, and then we want to
and to conserve it means that we need to reduce the things we're importing. So we're saying, okay, let's quickly ramp up manufacturing. Let's manufacture some of these things locally, right? So that we don't need to be giving people money to import, right? So that's one. So if you do that, it will help us. And then, but while we're doing it, because we have all sorts of obligations, right? We have euro bonds that were falling due. We have dollar FX loans that we need to service. So we let's conserve this so that the small money that we have, we'll be using it to service those things so that we don't default, right? And then we also have, he said you spoke to DSS before this thing, right?
Yeah, they're doing clearance.
We have clearance, don't worry.
Okay. So one of the fundamental problems I used to tell people, and people used to attack me, call me all sorts of names, that we had pretend foreign reserves.
Just so we'll not be able to finish the show today.
So
they want us to burn the carpenter workshop. It's not just breaking tables.
Why did I say we have pretend foreign reserves? I mean, it's not exactly a bad thing. So just let me learn. So you see, because at some point, if you check between 2017 to now, our OMO operations, the cost of our OMO operations skyrocketed from nowhere. From 2017.
Doctor, please, Jinwaya, what is OMO? For the sake of our audience.
Open market operations. So essentially, government securities and all those things.
It's got almost so.
Okay. So it's not it's not aerial. So what we've done essentially is, at some point, investing your dollars or whatever abroad, you get maybe 1 or 2%. It didn't make much sense. And at some point, our treasury government securities was going about 17 to 18% thereabout. So you just that advert in the 80s, everybody come inside. I think it was one mortgage distance. So just told them, come, you can make money here. You can make money. So they carried their dollars with their plane and come. So when they brought it to Nigeria, they converted the dollars into Naira, invested Naira in our government securities, and the dollar, because for you to do that, you need to sell the FX to the banks and the CBN. So the CBN carried that FX and packed on our sheet as foreign reserves.
That's what we call hot money, right?
Yes, that's what we call hot money. So if you check the IMF Article 4 consultation report of April, I think 2019, I've been raising this, I've been talking about this a bit, but IMF raised it as well in April 2019. I said, look at the percentage of your foreign reserves that's made up of this kind of money. Is worrisome, right? Because it means that at the first sign of problem, this is the money that people carry and run away. But should that category of funds actually even be described as foreign reserve? Should it be categorized as foreign reserve? Yes, it can, but
because it's other people's money.
Yes, I agree. So it's not money that is other people's money. The money. So let me tell you, for me, anytime I'm talking about foreign reserves with someone, right? And I look at the makeup. There's some things I ask you. Inside these foreign reserves, do you have foreign portfolio investment, which is this kind of money we described, right? Do you have outstanding IR payments, right? Do you have, when we have oil company JV cash calls, do you have JV calls, cash calls, right? Do you have swaps with commercial banks? Because CBN can say a commercial bank can issue a euro bond, bring the dollars in, because they don't want to take the risk, right? They do a swap with the CBN. CBN gives them Naira in return and keeps the dollars, right? That money would leave. We know it would leave. So I said, detonate these foreign reserves. What portion of it is core foreign reserves? Take out this foreign portfolio investment, take out these swaps, take out these IOTA payments, take out these things that are falling due. How much of it? Now, when you strip that thing, right? Because this thing I'm doing now, those guys, Tokubo was talking about people attacking our exchange rates. That is why they're attacking our exchange rates now. Yeah. They have done they have done this same analysis, and they can see the boxers.
Mugu guy man chop.
So somebody is wearing Abada Ashoke on top, And by the time you do the analysis, you see one Spider-Man boxers that is wearing under. You will know that you are going to attack the person now, because there is a matter of time that Abada will go off, the filler will go off, everything. So you just keep them.
Justin, you didn't warn me appropriately. Justin, I feel like this is a setup. You didn't warn me.
So all you need to do, and all the person needs to do, if you go to CBN's website and look at their financials, as at the most current one, the one that is as at December 2019, just look at the portion of the reserves that's made up of OMO money. Now, this is one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that it comes at a significant cost. It comes at a mind-blowing cost. So that OMO operations cost the central bank 1.4 trillion in 2017 and about 2.2 trillion in 2018. The numbers for 2019 is not out, and of course 2020 is not out, but I think it will be more. So if you do that, about 3.8 trillion, that's like a minimum of 10 second Niger bridges if you want to build them.
Can you relate that number to the budget for those years for context?
Okay, so it's not even budgets. That won't be a fair comparison. It will be government revenue for the years.
Revenue.
Because in one of those years, government revenue was about 2.6 trillion. So our cost of maintaining
to service.
Yes, our cost of maintaining this thing I refer to as pretend foreign reserves was over almost 2 trillion. In a situation where our total revenue, federal government's portion of the revenue was about 2.6 trillion there. So now we are fixated. We have found ourselves in a situation where we said we want to keep a strong exchange rate, right? It's burning, it's destroying us, it's costing us jobs because there's a cost to it. Significant jobs, significant money that we can invest in infrastructure, right? But we want to be Jugunu. We want strong and keep strong exchange rate, and we're talking about it. Sorry, you said GSS. No, those okay. So there's a cost component, and the fact that is important is like a castrated eunuch. So you just have these giants that cannot perform. So it's nice. It's good.
No action. You don't get action. Oh God.
Honestly, I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it. So so why did I say that it was like the six men of Hindustan went to see an elephant? I believe that if we had somebody who had a strategic helicopter view of all that's going on, right? They will see that this thing we are doing here is creating a problem. I don't know if I'm making sense. If you want to do something that makes it appear good at this point, but it's creating another problem at this point. So that the fact that this one item appears good you're
digging a hole to fill a hole, essentially.
Exactly. You know me, I like plenty English. This is exactly what you are doing. So and then you are constantly kicking the can further and further down the road. So when these guys who are attacking these things, when they see this, they know what you are doing. They know it's not sustainable, especially since you don't have a franchise to print dollars and your major source of FX has crashed. Where is it going to come from? So you've come out to say, okay, you know what? There are speculators going on. I'm going to be supplying about $100 million every week to BDCs, and it's going to force down the exchange rate. Hey, those people will have looked at you and said, bring it on now. Let's see how long this will last. Because they have done the calculation. They have done the calculation. They know how much FX you have. They know how much the demand is, right? They know you can't meet it. And tell me something, guys, maybe the school, I'm like, yeah, I didn't study economics or whatever. My first degree is in English. It's just that Obanje worried me when I was looking for work. And I now started studying finance and all these other things. So let me ask you guys something. The exchange rate parallel market was at about 475 thereabout, right? When we intervened started selling to the BDCs. So we started selling to the BDCs at 30% a discount right? And we don't have enough. We know the demand, there was a piled up demand. We had a long queue of foreign portfolio investors who were waiting to exit. They couldn't exit. Companies like, I think, is it CAD? There are some companies that converted their dividend into additional shares, right? Because they couldn't take it out.
They couldn't access the money.
Yes, they couldn't access the money. It was GT Bank that sent out that controversial, that caused somebody's head, whatever, that they didn't have money to pay dividends on their what's it called, global deposit receipts, GDR, right?
GDR.
People were queued. They were long queue, so we have an idea of the demand, right? So this thing you are putting inside here will not solve that problem. But because markets tend to be driven by sentiment, we know that if you make the pronouncement that I'm coming to fight, everybody will watch first because they think you are coming with Tavo 21. That's what it's called. That's Israeli whatever. They are coming with
the DSS gun.
Yes. Tavo 21. Then you now appear with a penknife.
Okay, let me take us in a different direction. You won't be surprised at what I'm about to ask because it's a pet peeve.
Let's get Yamo Tokumbo in. Tokumbo, I know you're tired.
No, ask me again. I'm not.
Okay, so here's the thing, yeah, Tokumbo. So in the first instance, you're the only person here who actually studied economics, Abi. You are the core economist.
Yes.
Very good. Apparently. So first instance, how did we end up from a global perspective? How did we end up in this situation where I'm in my country, Nigeria, Africa? I'm drilling oil.
I know where this man is going. Oh, like
you could leave me now. Yes, you know I like it. This is my pet peeve, right?
God.
This is my pet peeve. Why am I selling my crude in exchange for dollars? Why do I need to keep my national reserve in dollars? How did the dollar end up as a reserve currency?
Good luck answering this question.
Why is the dollar the reserve currency? Why do I need to benchmark my local economy, my local currency against the dollar? Now, here's why it is one of the reasons why it's my pet peeve. In 2020, COVID came along and threw everybody a curveball. Nobody could have seen 2020 coming, right? Globally. So even when we knock our government for not being up to scratch, there's an element of the problem today that is the complication of COVID, even though what COVID did was amplify everybody's underlying issues. Now, one of the responses from economies, from central banks all over the world is what Dr. Jeku taught me was called quantitative easing. And I looked at him and I said, please break down this quantitative easing thing. What do you mean by all this grammar? Quantitative, what's quantitative easing? And by the time he finished explaining, I looked at him again. I said, did you just explain to me that quantitative easing, that big grammar you spoke, is simply go and print more money? And he said, yes. I said, so quantitative easing basically is print more money. We need money. So this is the same thing that Idi Amin did, and all of us were laughing in that movie, right? That's quantitative easing. The economy is in dire straits, go and print more money. Okay, why can't we print more money? And the response is, there's inflation, all this plenty shalai. I said, but America just printed more money, $3.something trillion in 2020 alone. Why is it that they don't have inflation after printing more money? Calling it quantitative easing. And then I will have to print money at a cost, even if I can print money and suffer inflation, and then I'm benchmarking against the US dollar. Yes, somebody in the comment section, the Bretton Woods Agreement. So my question is, how did we end up in this scenario? Please educate those of us that have refused to understand it. Iko has been trying for years, so let me give him credit. He has been trying to explain this thing to me and I have refused to understand it.
I get coconut head. I get coconut head.
The question is for the historians, not even the economists. Like, why is the US? It's almost like asking why is the US the superpower that it is? Why is it number one? Why is Nigeria not the superpower that it is? I guess the thing is, when we did try to make gold the reserve currency, we found that did not quite work because of how volatile it was. And so the agreement then post-World War was that, okay, fine, US, you guys be the one that will back. And the reason why we need something is, think of all the goods and services we sell. Like, imagine if oil was like, oh, Nigerian oil is in Naira, Togolese oil is in Sefa. Like, it would just be a mess. So there had to be something to back all these currencies by. And so it just
it won't be a mess. It won't be a mess now, because if you want to buy my oil, go and buy Naira. So we will say the problem with Naira is that demand outstrips supply. So in that case, they will have to go and look for Naira to buy. That will jack up my own value now.
There's a cost for finding these different exchange rates. Imagine a business, right? You're a business and you're importing things, right? You're importing 7 items. And for all these 7 items, because they're from, think about a suit. A suit is made from a button from Taiwan, leather from Italy. Like, the world these days completely global. Like, one good item can use like inputs from like 10 different countries. So imagine you're a business and now you need 10 different currencies. Like, there's a cost to each of those transactions that you just don't need. Not that you don't need, but life is easier and less costly if we have one currency that we can just make all those purchases in.
But that consolidation is also at a cost, as we can clearly see now.
Yes, to develop. So
the cost is now to me, who is providing the raw material. So the person we consolidated in his currency, how come he can print more of his own currency to meet this global demand that is in his favor at no cost to him?
So America does have a cost when it prints money, and Nigeria too prints money. Like, we print money as well a lot. CBN has been printing trillions of naira.
Do we print dollar?
No, we print naira. We print naira. We can't print dollar. We can't print dollar. You see, you can't eat our cake and have it, unfortunately, and that's what
Tokumbo, see, let me tell you what is confusing, Justin. His problem is that for every $100 that we earn, right, we have to produce goods worth $100, right? For every $100 that the US wants to earn now, they can just print it with about 19 cents. That's the difference. That's the question. He's saying why do yes. So he's asking, why do they have that advantage? Over to you.
So the
history. Just know that some of the people who try to answer this question before airstrikes. There were airstrikes.
Okay. Let's switch a little bit. So Yamo, I want to come to you, right? And one of the good things about this show is that we learn a lot of different things. Tell us a little bit about what Bamboo does. Then I know that some of these people that want to change their money in dollar when they collect salary is Bamboo. They put their money in.
Yamo is a beneficiary.
Yamo, you thought you were just coming here to chill, Abby. I'm sorry, we are prepared for you. Don't worry. All the people that all the capital flight that is happening is
that's how they will see another circular in the newspapers now. There was one circular with 33 names. They will now
Bamboo doesn't have any money. They don't have money.
It's worth noting that we're a startup. We don't have money.
Exactly.
We're not putting any. We don't have enough money.
Was a Naira or whatever they announced was a Naira. They don't have any money.
We didn't even announce. We've not announced any raise. We've not raised anything.
They're poor. They don't have money.
Yeah, we don't have money.
Okay.
So that's
we can't even pressure
customers like me.
that are keeping us afloat. Thank you very much.
Open your app now. Everything is still. Everything, right? It's today.
It's been read for the past 2 weeks too.
All right, so give us an insight, because look, a lot of things are happening now. Babajide is in the comment. Babajide is probably one of your best customers. Babajide is on all the stock apps in Nigeria. So give us a little insight into what you guys do and how all of this kind of comes together affects your business.
I think from this conversation between Tokumbo and Dr. Jake, we can see clearly.
No, don't come my name.
The summary of the learned people, of the learned economists have told us that our exchange rate crisis isn't ending anytime soon. That seems to be the summary. And so, as I mentioned, I started this thing by saying I really like money. And while the government and all the really, really smart economists are working to fix our exchange rate problem, at Bamboo, we figured we would we would help people make money in the interim. Is essentially how we see it. We figured it was important to continue to build wealth. And so at Bamboo, we essentially give you the opportunity to invest in global assets, right? As the US stock markets, we'll be adding on other global investment opportunities. And that's essentially it. The benefit to you as a Bamboo user, even if who was saying that everywhere's stew, but as a Bamboo user, even when the stock market is down, if you invested at 360 today, when the Naira is at 460, you've already made money. So even you've already made money, you've already moved on, you've forgotten about it. There's we talk about devaluation, but even apart from devaluation, if you're just keeping your money, if you change money and you keep it in your Bamboo wallets, just sitting there earning whatever the US deposits interest rate is, you're making money on inflation. I mean, you're comparing 1.8% US inflation to Nigeria inflation that is, they say is 12% or 13%. So Kumbo can probably give us more.
Why is it that anytime we want to talk about Nigeria stats, everybody obviously they say this? Why is it that nobody?
No, they say because they say one inflation.
You quoted, who said it?
It's a liver problem. Liver. There's no
everything is our population. They say should be our population. They should be our population.
No, they say it's 12 because they said one is 12. One food is another one. So we just know things are expensive and they are getting more expensive.
Okay.
And so that's essentially where we're at Bamboo. You have two options. You can either invest, you're earning your returns. That's what we advise. Change your money, invest in dollars. Whenever you want your money in Naira, sell a bit, or even if you haven't sold, withdraw at current exchange rates. We protect everyone's money from devaluation because you will withdraw at whatever today's exchange rate is. So if God forbid, touch wood, anything you believe in, the exchange rate goes to 1,000, it's not our portion. But if it goes to if it goes to 1,000 and you invested at 360, you've already made plenty money, even if you didn't buy Tesla. So those are that's essentially what Bamboo is offering, a way to continue building wealth while Nigeria and all the smart economists and the people at the Ministry of Finance sort themselves out.
So can I ask you a question? Because we understand that, so from your operations or from the face value of what Bamboo does, right? Invest in stocks. But there's also the where you can just keep your money and sit in the wallet. Do you guys face our boys? You know what I'm talking about, though. As our boys enter your app, and how do you guys protect that you're not being at risk because some speculators or some guys that just want to do some funny stuff because of what the dollar is doing? How do you guys work around that?
There are various ways we do that. There are various ways we're careful. We have entire compliance teams. We have entire people whose job it is to watch these things. But from a risk point of view, we take very little FX risk. If you give us Naira, we hold your Naira. If we're taking Naira risk, we're taking it for an hour or two at most. We're also changing money very, very quickly to
internet. Are you there? There's a reason why I'm asking this question. I wanted to shift gears a little bit because I want the economy and the OG in the house to kind of like, what do you even think about this option people have now to where they can carry their money now and put in all these things like Bamboo, like Rise Vest? How does that affect what's going on right now?
I mean,
I'm actually okay. Go ahead, Tokunbo.
I mean, for the top, 1%, people who actually have access to this kind of stuff, I mean, it helps them keep their wealth. It helps them mitigate against the fact that Nigeria has 13.2% inflation and the currency is constantly depreciating. But the more people do that, that's just increasing the demand for more dollars, right? So back to how we started this program. Like, People want
So
dollars.
it's a
Nobody wants
it's a
Naira.
catch. It's a catch 22 situation.
So Tokumbo, so this is what I wanted to say. So at some point the regulator will come calling.
Yeah, I won't be shocked. I won't be shocked.
Yeah.
I won't be
At
shocked.
some point the regulator will come calling straight.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Dr. Jack, give us.
There's been chatter in that regard already.
Okay, Dr. Jack, give us. I want you to expand on that. They'll come because part of all of this too is, I know we've had separate shows about the regulation and different aspects and working with government and innovation and all that. You said government will come call it. You know that if we look at
so let me tell you what government is trying to achieve, right? Government has to spend money. We need to spend money because we need to spend ourselves out of this recession, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But government is also worried, right, that if he pushes too much money into the system, too much Naira into the system, there'll be a lot of Naira chasing the limited supply of FX, right? So government, okay, let me play the government role now, head of CBN. Let me pretend for a second that I'm the head of CBN.
Murphy Daddy.
Yes,
where's
without all the benefits. So this is what I would like to see. So I would like to do all these interventions, agree here, do this here, do that here, push the money into the markets, the economy, and quickly mop it up. I need to mop it up because if I leave it out there, the banks will carry their customers to bid with that Naira. It will put more pressure on the whatever. People want to use that Naira to get FX. And then some people also want to use the Naira to convert to FX and put inside bamboo. Correct? So
hopefully.
So, you know where I'm
Yamo, set up,
I don't like the smile that Justin is wearing. So we have to come up with this Rube Goldberg complicated mechanism where you give money with one hand, you take it back with another hand, right? So that the money is not out there creating these problems for you, and you are monitoring that liquidity. Now, so how does government typically do that? So the government uses open market operations to mop up excess liquidity. That's one way they do that. The other way for commercial banks, because commercial banks are the custodians of depositors' funds, they mop up most of the liquidity, is what they call cash reserve requirements. In essence, every bank, depending on the banking jurisdiction, the central bank can say, of all the deposits you have to maintain a minimum of 1% or 2% of your deposits with us, sterilized. You don't have access to it. So they use it as a monetary policy tool. Okay. In our case, so government has moved it on to about 27.5%. So of all the deposits, the total industry deposit liability as of June 2020 was about 28 billion. 22 billion of it was Naira. So they said 27.5% of it, keep it with me, sterilized, unremunerated, because it helps them manage down the amount of liquidity in the system, right? So that when you come, you don't have enough liquidity in that sense to come.
Hello, Jack. Do we lose you?
No, I can hear.
Can you hear me?
To ask the question.
Can you hear
Everybody
me?
else online.
I can hear, but there's some feedback.
Hola.
It's not from me.
Kumbo, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Justin, I can hear you.
It seems we're
I heard the noise, but I think
I can hear as well.
Okay.
It was as if somebody was scraping a bowl of rice from.
I can hear
Anyway.
you. But Justin, are we all good? Can everybody confirm that they can hear?
Yeah, I can hear everybody now. I have everybody now.
I can hear.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Okay, so what we've effectively done as this demand pressure increased, right? In April, we introduced what is known as DDCR, which is differentiated dynamic cash reserve requirements, right? So DDCR essentially means that as a regulator, I can look at the total liquidity in the system and I'll say it's too much. So I'm not going to maintain that 27.5%. I can look at your own case particularly and say, okay, now if your deposit liability reduces, I'm supposed to release the excess deposits have collected under CRR. Under DDCRR, I won't do that. So what we found is that effectively over time, some of the major tier 1 commercial banks have had their DDCRR approximate 50%. So about 50% of their total deposit liability is sterilized and is unremunerated DDCRR. So government doesn't pay them anything on it. Hold this thought because I'm heading somewhere. So what you then see, if you have as a June 2020, total industry deposit was 28 billion, total industry Naira deposit was 22 billion, and total DDCRR was about trillion, not billion, trillion. Total DDCRR was about 11 point something trillion. So we're saying 50% of total Naira deposits was sterilized unremunerated. This has an impact on the lending rate because the banks will pass on the cost, but hold that thought. The interesting portion now of this thing and why DSS may come to see Bola is that if you look at on the same and this is on CBN's whatever, if you look at the CBN's federal government's ways and means account with the CBN, the total borrowing that federal government has drawn from overdraft from CBN approximates that DDCRR. So in essence, rather than
you guys fully understand that the ways and means, so
yes,
what I
so
mentioned, Nigeria prints a lot of money. That
they are using plenty big English to cover a lot of
what he's basically saying is that the central bank prints money and then it basically borrows it to the government, and 11 trillion worth has been done.
Yes.
Wow.
So there are two types of ways and means. Guys, hold on. There are two types of ways and means. There's a tax. Ways and means can be tax, increased taxation. So you then lend it to government. But the non-tax ways and means is printing money. But that's not what we did here. What we did here was that we mopped up excess liquidity from the commercial banks and gave it to government.
At the same time, where we're telling the deposit money banks that we need to fund the real sector, we need to give SME
100%.
loans.
So in theory, that's what we have done, and it makes sense. So let me tell you why it makes sense for them. Because by doing that, you have not increased the liquidity in the system again. You didn't have to print money. Printing money will have meant another round of trying to mop up excess liquidity. So this is like Aikido. You know that martial art, you use somebody's momentum to defeat the person. They're doing Aikido with this money. Now, so when you have unremunerated CRR, DDCRR, please tell you that is a tax. Unremunerated DDCRR is a tax because you have taken money that commercial banks have taken at a cost, right? You are not paying the money on it. Will have just been a normal monetary policy instrument until you started lending it out at a spread of about 5%. Mm-hmm. So if you calculate that spread about over 500 billion per annum, that's the war chest that you have, right? I don't want to even go into the accountability and whatever, but you have that war chest, you're earning money on it, okay? So the reality is that if we release that money, right, this exchange rate will not be where it is because banks will have to take their customers to the bid. As it is today, banks are taking their customers to the bid and they're now getting the full. First of all, banks are scaling down their customers' bid requests. They take the customers to the bid and they're not getting the full money they're asking for. So you can imagine if they had all these
with the number of things, with the number of items on the non-valid for FX list now, I don't even know who and who they can take to bid.
But we're even saying that with that, like 25% of the request they're getting, when they take it to the bid, is scaled down for is rationed. So in reality, what we are doing is we have not increased supply of FX. We are managing demand. So you can understand when those guys who are attacking our exchange rates are watching all these things, are competing. The same way I'm breaking it down now is the same way they're broken it down and looked at, and they can approximate what they feel the market social demand will be. They have looked at what they have detonated the foreign reserves. They have taken out the hot money. They have taken out all those other obligations. So they have determined the unencumbered foreign reserves, So they know how much money you have to fight. So while you are telling people that you have GPG, they have looked at your armory and they have seen a penknife. So they know that it's a matter of time before you run out of ammunition. So they'll wait.
So let me try and bring this down to my constituency. By my constituency, I mean we the masses. After you people have done all this,
when you deceive yourself, finish. Let us know.
Don't mind him.
Off your mic. We the masses. I'm representing my people in the comment section. Ian and Co. And Max Doran. So here's the thing. After all the quantitative easing, ways and means, DGCR, and all the plenty acronyms and anagrams. So the burden for pursuing the central the government strategy. The burden for pursuing the government strategy has basically been transferred to me, the everyday person. Because the net effect, of what you just described, where to contain demand, the CBN has mopped up liquidity from the banks. And they mopped up the liquidity in a framework that is non-compensatory for the banks. So the banks have basically collected money from us Nigerians by way of deposits. And of course, people are always grumbling about how can I have money in the bank and it's not earning me any interest, which is what creates the kind of gap that people like Bamboo are trying to fill, right? So that people's wealth is not experiencing atrophy. Yes. So you take money from the bank, takes money from me, promises to pay me 2%, and then the CBN turns around and takes half of that money from the bank and tells them, "I'm not paying you anything," right? Which is what the situation is. I'm not paying you anything, and then the bank turns around and looks and says, "Okay, me, I'm not going to carry this. I'm not going to carry this monkey on my shoulder." And then they look at the people who are coming to borrow, and they say, "Okay, I'm going to layer this cost onto your borrowing, onto your cost of borrowing." So they transfer that pricing to the borrowing community, which is the SMEs that are providing employment and are supposed to spend our way out of this. So we are essentially in a catch-22 situation where me, the man on the street, I'm already suffering. You're putting more load on my head. The economic mechanics that are supposed to take us out of it are also being hampered because if people are now borrowing at higher rates, right? Companies are going to be cutting jobs, right? Productivity is going to be dropping. So where do we go from here? Because it looks to me like we've all seen that cartoon where one idiot is sitting on a branch and he's sawing off the branch that he's sitting on, right? So that sounds to me like that's the situation
for ground.
But then, I mean, is the question? I mean, I think it's the same question, right? To float or not to float?
So that's
okay. So that's floating in itself solves the problem.
That's the thing, though, Justin. Sometimes I like to play sometimes like, I like to play like I'm on the CBN's corner sometimes, just because I think bashing Nigerian government
Are you sure you're not?
No, it's too easy. I feel like bashing Nigerian government is doing wrong. It's too easy. Like we can do that all day for like hours. But like, okay, let's actually
make it easy.
Let's actually be on that side. Okay, let's actually what are they thinking? Like the alternative to what they are doing now is okay, fine. We'll leave let's not try and do all this saving, banning imports, trying to save FX. Let's not save FX anymore. Let's just leave it. Okay, you know what? Demand and supply, do what you want. Now, because of that disparity between nobody wants to buy Nigerian goods, whereas we want to buy dollars all the time, the exchange rate will obviously, we're going to see something like 700. That's where to go. Now, what the CBN's job is, number one job.
Nigeria man said dollar will soon reach 700. Tomorrow's blog.
If it does, like if it stops doing all these antics, that's what we'll see, right? So Nigeria's the central bank's number one job.
Well, I think we should bring Ian on.
His job.
Sorry, Tokumbo. Yeah, ask Ian if he wants to come on and talk about this from a Ghana perspective. Sorry, Tokumbo.
Ghana. Okay.
No, I wasn't talking to you, Tokumbo. Go ahead with what you were saying.
Sorry. Okay, so the alternative is let's let it float. Inflation will rise, and because if the exchange rate goes to 700, that'll be detrimental to Nigerian economy. We saw what happened in 2016 when we divided twice. Inflation, manufacturing couldn't get imports anymore because the dollar was too expensive. Jobs were lost. Recession 2016. That's what will happen, right? So the central bank is doing all this, in quotes, mago to avoid that number one job of not allowing inflation increase. That is why it's doing this. The issue is how it's doing it. There are many countries that have fixed exchange rate regimes. Saudi Arabia has had the same rates with the dollar for at least 25 years now. It hasn't changed even one, it has been the same rate since 1980s, right? There are many countries doing this, and if you're an oil-producing country, it's kind of, in quotes, a smart technique to have it fixed, right? The issue is the way it's going about it is wrong. It's not being realistic. Kind of stuff that Doctor was talking about, it thinks, why 360? Somebody asked why 360, right? Why 360? Why are you trying to fight 360 if that's not the fair value of the Naira? If it's not the fair value of the Naira, you're going to be fighting a battle that you're always going to lose. So it's about being more realistic with the market and not trying to deceive people who are doing those calculations that Doctor has been talking about. Don't try and deceive them. Give us a fair value of the Naira, and let's move from there. All this trying to fight speculators is not going to get us anywhere. But yeah, I just wanted to throw in that side of the coin as well.
I want to support the CBN too.
No, I'm going to Yamo next. I'm going to Yamo next.
No, I mean, I definitely agree. I don't think, I'm not pro floating just because for all the reasons you said, it's going to be really, really hard. I don't think anyone thinks about what Nigeria at 1,000 Naira to $1 looks like. It's just sweet to say that we'll stop fixing the exchange rates. But I think we've seen countries do it properly. And that's essentially my big Nigeria problem in general, is that nothing that's happening here is new. Nothing that's happening here hasn't already happened somewhere. And I don't understand why we don't just copy people that have done it already and done it well and succeeded at doing it. Egypt, for example, didn't do it great. So if we use Egypt, for example, they didn't do it great, but they didn't do it, they're like a good, let's not copy the, if you're trying to copy, you don't want to copy the A-star student, copy someone who gets B+. And okay, Egypt did it, okay. And now, it sucked for a year or two. And they managed to settle. They did the deal with the IMF. They finally gone through it. They're finally being able to pay back their loans. And I think that is more what we want to look at, what Okombo said, where we're at 360 now. We've come up with this. It's a random number we've come up with. It could have been 305. It could have been 430. It could have really been anything. So we probably want to pick another number out of the air and, work and start working towards
it's not even 360, Yamo. I was looking at
385. I thought it was 385. They said
the new one.
The point is that there are multiple. Yeah, at NAFEX, I think NAFEX closed today at 380 something. Yeah, we have multiple layers and multiple prices depending on whatever. But I think NAFEX was 380 something today.
Yeah, that's part of the
so we're all saying the same thing. Let's pick another higher number out of the sky. And when we pick that number out of the sky, let's start working towards what we need to do to keep it stable. So we now know that we need to, for the 4 years, for the 4 years that we can manage it, let's start figuring out power, let's start figuring out agri. I feel it's when it can't be when the fire is already burning that we start saying, let's buy fire extinguisher, which is sort of what we're trying to do right now.
Okay, guys, first of all, devaluation is a strategy, is a monetary policy strategy, right? We always allow devaluation to happen to us. We are supposed to control devaluation if we want to do it, right? If it's a fixed exchange rate. That's one. The second one, deliberate about it. The second thing is that there is no floating exchange rate that's fully floating. What you have is a managed float. So there's still some management of the floating whatever. And which is where we ideally people who talk about floating the exchange rate are headed. Now, this calculation of really effective exchange rates, everybody, we have an economist there. They were taught that in school. People like us that didn't read that, they were taught how to compute it. So you're not the only person who can compute it. I agree that there's a distortion because, like he pointed out, our economy, our FX is predominantly driven by oil, but we still have models to compute it. People have computed it and they're telling you that your exchange rate is not 360, it's not 380. We know what it is based on your foreign reserves, based on your total outstanding obligations, whether it's total outstanding debt, contractor obligation, etc., etc. They have computed it. People have models. I have a very senior economist who called me the other day. he gave me he showed me his own computation based on the model that created, right? And we know it's not the same thing. So this is my take. This is my take. Let's agree. We call these people together. You have a team. They do the computation, arrive at this exchange rate. It's going to be a managed floating rate, right? You arrive at it, but there are certain other things that we need to do. Our biggest problem is that we have always been struggling to use monetary policy to solve fiscal policy issues.
Yeah, the central bank website is agriculture.
Yes,
you go to CBN
exactly.
website now, you just say agriculture on the home page.
We have an all-purpose CBN. I call it.
Exactly.
Everything
Even the
IMF,
all purpose.
The IMF has noticed that. So you are using monetary policy to solve fiscal policy issues. So this is my take. Let the CBN be focused on its monetary policy. I know it says a heterodox. There's one word the central bank governor used, the heterodox approach or something like that. I can't remember. The English is passing. I know, and I agree, that these are strange times. These are difficult times. So you need to be creative in solving the problem, right? I agree. But you have institutions. You have development finance institutions. What are they doing? These development finance institutions should be out there creating loans, supporting the manufacturing sector, supporting. They are not doing it. You know what they're doing? They are transferring underwriting risk to commercial banks. So if you go to development finance,
you're talking about BOA, BOI, Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry,
yes,
all those people.
Yeah,
there's a new one.
So I guess there's this central bank program to loan people how to learn how to code, and I think one of the issues was that a commercial bank has to underwrite it. I guess
exactly, that's the point I'm trying to make.
Exactly. So it's not an intervention.
Yes, my point is that
so why can't they take that risk themselves? Is my question.
Because they don't have the balance. How much is the central bank's capital? It's about 20 billion naira, if I remember correctly. They don't even have the capacity.
And there was one voice note one time that they said they were looking for some money in the balance sheet.
That says you are working together this thing. So this is my take. Guys, this is my take. And this is something we have refused to address. The development finance institution is supposed to look at it's supposed to intervene in area where the commercial banks do not have the capacity, either from an underwriting perspective or balance sheet perspective to intervene. So they're not competing with commercial banks. But when we set up development finance institutions to intervene in agriculture, intervene in industry, and then what they do is that when you come to them, they say, okay, we're going to lend to you, but go and get a guarantee from a commercial bank. You're not underwriting the risk anymore. You're asking the commercial bank already. See, the commercial bank has a balance sheet to take that risk. If the risk was
taking 50% of their money,
yes, the commercial bank will have taken the risk. So those institutions have failed in their role, and that's why you are having the CBN going back now to try and do what those guys are supposed to do, rather than us strengthening those institutions and getting them to do what they're supposed to do.
So, doctor, real quick, when you're talking about those development banks, are you also talking about the regional ones or just the ones in Nigeria? Are you talking about the AFDBs as well, or focusing mostly on the Bank of Industry and like?
Those ones are not asking you for the guarantee of local commercial banks. They are not. So if they want to lend to you, they'll come out and lend to a project. Right? They say in project finance, you say that risk is allocated to the party best suited to bear the risk. They dimension the risk, and if they want to take it, they take it. But in this instance, what we are doing here is that we're saying, oh, okay, we want to do it, but go and get a guarantee from a commercial bank, meaning that I'm not taking the risk. It's a commercial bank that's taking the risk.
You get my point. So what are we doing?
Exactly. These institutions have to be capacitated so that they can do that work. And if we don't make these interventions, you're talking about China. What about Japan? These are the same thing. They pump money into those sectors, but there's a risk. There's a risk that some of those loans will go bad. So you need to get people with the right competence to run those interventions. We need to pump this money into these businesses. If it's agriculture, I don't know if any of you has looked at the recent MPL, industry MPL ratios, how agriculture and non-performing loans has inched up, right? You know, like
they say I don't know the people that they gave the loans.
But do these places even have capacity? Do the institutions have capacity?
Hey, I wanted to talk about that. Good question.
And does Nigeria have money to pump
on capacity?
Because those are the problems.
Okay, so let me tell you now. So let me tell you. Is ways and means now. We talked about ways and means earlier. No, hold on, guys. Calm down.
Print it.
Guys, calm down. This is exactly what Japan did. What do you think economics is about? The central bank, what it's called, owns almost 50%, maybe 30% of the stock exchange. How do you think they built all those institutions? They created the money and pumped it into those institutions. But it has to be structured. It has to be structured. It has to be people with the expertise to make those evaluations and assessments. So you need to get them in, because that's the only way. We have to build it. We have to build this, including power. We have to build them from scratch. It's only when we build those competencies. Somebody is saying, Justin said that everybody men should go and farm, and he's giving them cutlass and hoe. He's giving them cutlass and hoe to go and farm. That's not the kind of farming that can generate that.
We had a show on agribusiness here, and we precisely.
It's not going to move the needle.
I wish Michael was here today. This table for between Michael and Dr. Jack, they for arrest us today.
They require the technology in infrastructure that will generate those kind of produce. We don't have it, but we can create it. We can create it. You know, I know that Tokumba earlier said that this is not about knocks, or that is not exactly easy. But honestly, if we strip these things, if we strip politics out of these things, it's not rocket science.
Yep, it's not rocket science.
If you strip politics out of all these things, it's not rocket science. Okay, because everybody, there is nothing. Oh, sorry,
go ahead.
Let me drink water. I'm not talking again. No.
Okay. All right. I wanted to do like from a finance media standpoint. So I want to come out to kind of. I know you see things every day. You're editor-in-chief of Steers. You guys see things. Abi? You see things. You people went to go and write reports that 80% of startups in Nigeria don't have money with so you people see things. Justin, you are not allowed to even laugh. Just because no,
I didn't hear that one. 80% of startups don't have
startups in Nigeria are
audio money.
So that was just an example. Justin, instead of just once in a while, just ignore me and act like you didn't hear what I said. Okay, so you see things, you see trends, you see all what's happening. You guys, right? First of all, I'm a big fan of Steers. I love what you guys are doing. So I want you to remove economics cap, or maybe you can't remove it totally, but give us from a broad perspective. What are the trends? What are you guys seeing? What are you guys working on? Because you know what you guys do is also very important. Even if some people don't want to listen to you, at least some of us that will read it, and even if it's just fear that will catch us, at least let's know what's really happening. So what are the trends? And you can go however you want to go, but from a Steer standpoint as editor-in-chief and what you guys are working on, what are the things you guys are seeing with the economy, and maybe some solutions that maybe that you can be pointing us to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I think what we're seeing is more conversations like this. So more and more people, it happens every time things go wrong, crisis, recession. More and more people want to actually understand what's this economy thing that has lost me my job. Like, and now now I need to understand this thing. What is this? The bank is telling me to bring 30%. What is the economy?
Talking about, is that why people went premium? Is that why you went premium? Talking about
premium. Sorry, he's referring to Steers has
well, you have to pay for content now.
A subscription part. So we just believe, and this has been a 1-year strategy. We've just from the get-go. In fact, we've been around for over 3-4 years now, and we have never relied on a business of using advertising for media. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Your clients can't be an advertiser, and then your customer.
It's like you have to do masterclass for some assessors.
It's like you're collecting
some
money
media
from
assessors need masterclass from you guys.
And then you're trying to write pieces for consumers. It's like, okay, how does that work? Because what you're giving them is not going to be independent. Like, I'm collecting money from APC. How can I talk to you guys about independence in journalism, right? So it didn't make sense. So the relationship, it has to be between you and I as a consumer, as a reader. And I don't want to advertisers and co. No, that's not my purview. But the trend I was referring to is that people are more and more interested in actually understanding the economy. And that's the gap that Steers has been trying to fill and is filling for years now. In terms of things that are going wrong economy-wise, I think, and solutions, well, we spoke a lot about the exchange rate now, but I think Yamo made it clear, and I think it does come down to it. The fundamentals like power, like we can talk about all these different things, like exchange rates.
Anytime I want to talk about power, Justin doesn't allow me to make that conversation.
I'm sorry, but there's no light. There's no conversation.
There's a question. There's a comment. There's a comment here, right? That talks about that foreign DFIs will rather lend to commercial banks for the purpose of lending to specific sectors than lend directly. And I want to take that question, right? That comment, because
go for it.
First of all, I've worked with a DFI. Second, I represent a DFI on the board of BPI. So I can say, and I've done projects for DFIs across Africa, at least in 8 African countries, and major projects. So in this instance, I can speak specifically. See, part of what people don't understand, and that's why I keep talking about Nigeria DFIs, is that this DFI is not that large. Aside from IFC, right, which has a large in terms of boots on the ground, they are very small. So maybe like 10 years ago, they had this European Development Finance Partners. So it was like they aggregated. They came together to say, rather than us repeating due diligence on same project, one of us can do the due diligence and invite all of us to participate. So one of the biggest concerns has been deal size. It takes the same amount of work to evaluate a $500,000 project or a $1 million project that it would take me to evaluate a $5 million or $10 million project. So yes, in that instance, so if they're coming into Nigeria, they want to do $5 million or $10 million or even $50 million, they probably go to a GT bank and say, come, do you guys have anything you're doing for women? So can we unlend it to you so that you lend to this sector, right? So it helps them because they don't now need to evaluate 1,000 separate projects for women, right?
So they consolidate.
However, when we get the skills and put together these big deals, they won't lend through those commercial banks. When Dangote did Obajana, right, they didn't lend through commercial banks were part of the team that helped him put it together, but they gave money directly to the project. So if we put together this project, if we get the skills required to put, when I did Accra Mall in Ghana in 2006, Kailisha, South African, what was it called? Some projects in Kenya, in Zambia, etc. We didn't go through commercial banks because the deal sizes were attractive enough in those markets, right? So it's now left for us. And another thing I've also found, and now that I'm running my own business, I found out a lot of times enterprises are not willing to pay people who have the competence to help them package these deals, because this is like in our.
Because you guys are expensive. You guys are expensive.
Yeah, but 100% I agree. But what is so? But if you
Dr. Jekyll, who born me to say, doctor, come and help me do so? May I say
calm down. So let me give you an example. So when you come to somebody, if you want to raise money from a development finance institution, right?
Okay.
Each of those institutions has their idiosyncrasies. There are some that have sectors they will jump at. There are some that don't have sectors. The sectors they won't touch. So you won't be wasting your time when you meet an expert. He knows that, KFW does this, or FMO does this, Norfund does this, they know which one, and they also know the people there, right? it makes life a whole, and they know exactly. It's like checkbox.
So
they
it's
know
like
what
it's
each
like
of
the
those
VC ecosystem for startups. Yeah, it's almost like it's more like an old boys club. So if you're
exactly,
in, you're
everybody
in.
knows everybody. So on the board I sit on today, right? You have Norfund, you have IFC. I represent FMO. You have Smith from the Switzerland. You have the Canadian DFI, right? So all of us are on the same board. So it makes it easier for me if I want to reach out to the IFC guy or the IFC person in charge of MENA and North Africa, or etc. So it's pretty straightforward. So I agree that they are lending to commercial banks, but if they have deal sizes, will CDC put money into a commercial bank if you have a $200 million project, single project, they will lend directly to the project. So that's the point. Let's begin. And this is another point I was trying to make. Is what these DFIs do, right? Local DFIs, is that they help you prepare the project, put their money inside, and it makes it now attractive for these other foreign people to bring their money inside.
Jax, let me. There's also another angle. I mean, I've seen Twitter threads or social media threads where some of the narrative out there is that, especially when you begin to look at this from the perspective of why Africa has gone Sino-African in terms of outlook, right? How is it that Africa seems to have turned towards China? We have the Belt and Road, policy. Yeah, initiative. Now, part of the issue is that some of the traditional DFIs, the Western DFIs, seem to, over time, have evolved into not just being DFIs, but almost like political tools, right? So it's almost as if those deals come with some strings attached. I mean, we had SAP back in the day, right? That a lot of people would argue that it was almost an instrument of neocolonialism and all of that, if you want to begin to look at things from that political theory perspective. So what's your take on that? Is there merit to that argument?
So now I'm not talking about public sector lending, because if I was talking about public sector lending, I'll be talking about World Bank, I'll be talking about maybe the IFC. I'm talking about commercial private sector lending, right?
Okay.
So most of these DFIs, right, will not touch public sector. They don't touch public sector. The sectors where they play in are well defined, right? Now the issue is, can we put together those projects that they will find appealing, right? I tease them, they get upset sometimes. I say they have a head mentality, that if one of them looks at a project and says it's nice and they've done evaluation, everybody jumps inside. So what it takes for the person who wants to create this project, and when I'm talking about creating projects, I'm particularly focused on projects that you create where you can earn, now everybody's looking for hard-end FX. I don't know whether Naira is not hard-end, but we all say hard currency, hard. I don't, but let's do it. So projects where we can earn FX. There are so many things, like I said, we need to sit down. We have to be strategic about it. Even our DFIs have to form strategic partnerships with those guys to say, guys, these are some areas we're interested in. Are you interested in this? We are willing to put 30% in this project. Will you join us and bring your capacity? And the best thing out of this thing, they don't just bring money. They bring technical assistance. They bring expertise. Like what we do for BPI East Africa today, technical assistance, you can even bring people to help them reorganize the institution, put governance structures in place. It's paid by the sponsor DFIs, which are grants they get from their own government. You are not spending a dime on it.
That's exactly the point. Now, every time there's a public sector grant on the DFI's originating end, there are strings attached. That's the argument that I'm making, right?
Yeah, but let me tell you about those strings. So, for instance, let me tell you the kind of
grants no be here.
No, let me tell you the kind of things. I won't say grants, technical assistance. So let me tell you the kind of things they'll say. With this money we are giving you, we want to see an increase in your financing in the rural areas rather than focusing on the urban areas. You know, there's a tendency for people to lend within the capitals. It needs to be 60-40. There's a metrics they will develop for you.
Yeah.
We need to see you create additional 1,000 jobs for women, 2,000 jobs for women. This is the target. So those things are defined from day one. So each of those technical assistants, you see what is meant to achieve. It's what, you know, is like government that will say, oh, one of the things we want to do is we want to focus on renewable energy in Africa. And while doing that, we'll create an additional 10,000 jobs for women worldwide. So there are boxes they take. In fact, let me tell you something. I even joked with some of my guys. I say, the best time to collect money is if it's towards the end of the year. Because towards the end of the year, the financial year, they need to meet those, not exhaust the money part of the budget.
KPIs,
they meet those targets. The KPIs. They need to meet those targets. So everybody is rushing to go out there and okay, we promised this year that we are going to create jobs for 5,000 women. So far we have done 2,000. So we need to meet this deliverable, and it's easier to then talk to them and get those things out. So my point is that we need to understand what we want to achieve, break it down to brass tacks, and attack it holistically. So when I'm looking at that, like a CEO dashboard, I'm saying this year we agreed we are going to create 3 million jobs. Where are those jobs going to come from? This will come from here. If we work with these people, they have a target of creating 2,000 jobs. We have a commitment for them to create those jobs here. Do this. So but the attention to detail, right? There's a precise. You need to and you can't be. Especially if I were the one, I won't be sleeping. It's not possible that I can sleep with this magnitude of problem and the amount of work required to do. It's not possible. Of course, if you once Mazi supplies me with that, my understand, I'll be small
petrol.
Yes, and I'll be working.
Let's move somewhere. So next week's show is on tourism, and I'm still trying but we're not ending. No, is a point I'm trying to get to. Next week's because a country like Thailand now, what did they produce? But there's a lot of
look at Rwanda's tourism. Look at Rwanda's MICE strategy, meetings, incentives, conferences, and event strategy.
I was there. They spent the IICC or whatever it's called. They spent $300 million on it. They spent around 15 million or however million on just to put their name on Arsenal's jersey. So a lot of this is why I'm bringing this up is demand for our currency, right? And the reason why I'm saying this also is that next week, our show is going to be on tourism. I have a couple of guests already lined up. We're trying to seal the Oga of Tour Nigeria. We're trying to seal him. Maybe talking about can help me. You know, talking about once I'm mentioning your name now, it's currency. But I wanted to.
But they say you're free floating, or you're floating currency.
So what I wanted to ask everyone is that, with all things being unequal, because there's nothing equal about all our situations now, is that what are the areas or solution areas that we can look at that can say, okay, even if it's small little movement in demand for our currency, where can that come about, and how can we put some strategies? Hey, Dr. Jack is laughing. How can we put strategies behind that? We want to talk about tourism next week, but because again, there's dollar Naira flight. Nobody really wants to put their money in Naira. Everybody's running to dollars. But if we can start getting demand in the country, and we have this infrastructural problem, but what are some things that even if not miracle, you feel like we can start tapping into a lot more? Maybe it's tourism, maybe other things. Like, what are some of the things you guys think? And Yamo, maybe I know you probably have some thoughts around it, so maybe you can kick us off. It may also be bad business for you, because now if there's demand for Naira, then nobody is maybe you stop doing your stock in Naira too. but you're mute.
Yamo, you're mute.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I would say no. There's always things you can invest in. So that ain't no problem. But do you mean longer term or short term? Because I mean on a general Nigeria level,
however term
I think
do
whatever
how
we're
you want to do
doing
us.
is just
However term.
Oh, I think the most important Nigeria problem is electricity. I think we're just playing until we have 24-hour electricity.
Okay, assume that
We're just
playing.
having a
Assume
great
that we're
time
playing.
and
I've
putting
handicapped it.
bandages
Assume that
on
we're playing.
all our economic problems. Like I mentioned earlier, we spoke.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Assume that we have power
that we are
already.
playing, that there's no power.
Are we saying assume that we have
assume
power
that
already?
we are playing. Assume that there's no power.
There's no light.
There's no light. We are going to manage
sector?
what we have right now.
What sector should we push? What happens in the dark?
That's interesting.
I shall not answer that question. I shall not be quoted.
The tragedy is that the people whose job it actually is just make you wonder, how do you people sleep? Like the coach was saying.
Also, who's advising them? Who do they listen to?
No, I know. I don't see. You see that advice?
I guess hospitality, right?
All of us live in Nigeria. We know that the Nigerian big man syndrome is first of all, he believes he has a monopoly of knowledge. So no matter what if you like, put your best advisors around them.
Okay, I'll let you.
The first thing, let me tell you what I learned from Rwanda. Let me tell you one thing I learned from Rwanda and PK. For Kagame may have his politics. I'm not interested in his politics.
How long were you there for?
But 3 years.
Okay.
I lived there for 3 years. Now, what I realized is that we have visionaries, right? That's one. And we have people who can execute, right? But it's not every day that you have a combination of a visionary who has the capacity to execute and assemble a team that can execute. That's what you have in Paul Kagame. So everything he does very well. The good things he does very well. The bad things, I believe he also does very well, right? No, I'm not, and he's a workaholic. Rwanda is the only country where I know that when you are appointed a minister, a private sector person appointed a minister, fear will begin catch you, because there is no way you can work at his pace and it won't affect your own business.
You mean they don't do Thanksgiving when they get appointments there?
No. And it affects
but I'm sure they get paid.
Yeah, well. because they pay civil servants pay, right? So there's no. I have friends who are a major industrialists. When he has a brainwave, he can be in his office by 5 a.m. You just got a call that you need to come to his office by 5. He has assembled a team. See, he doesn't shake away from acquiring the expertise from anywhere. He has headhunted Nigerians to come and do stuff.
Yeah, now the chief digital officer for the Bank of Rwanda is one of our guys on Twitter.
Bank of Rwanda, yes. Before him, no, that one was celebrated. Now, before him, even in that what's it called, ease of doing business office, my friend, a PhD guy, he headhunted him from the UK. Wow. He doesn't. So once they come up with those, they look for people and bring people in. There's no politics inside that.
I heard about their power. About their power, they literally brought people in, sat them in a room. We want 24 hours power. Sit down in the room.
My friend is one of the John Damascene. He's one of the guys, and that was the 4:30 a.m. call. You see this thing, we must solve it. I will do privatization, and this is what do we need to do? Who do we need to bring, right? But even as he's doing that, he has his own vision, and he's sharing his vision with you, and he's trying to interpret it and trying to get your feedback. So what's my point? My point is that
but you know that it is not democracy.
We're saying I said I don't want to talk about his politics. Let me tell you something.
But you didn't say that about. I'm sure you wouldn't say that about China. Let's talk about what works.
Yes. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you have seen Rwanda's diary strategy. One of the things I learned from Rwanda is that everything is a mosaic. There is no one overarching idea. There are several ideas that come together to form what you see that's Rwanda. In fact, every time I describe Rwanda for people, when people ask me to describe Rwanda, I say is those days you're growing up in the village, you'll be walking along the path to the stream. You see a green leaf on the path and it's moving, and you're wondering why is it moving? There's no gust of wind. You pick it up and you see an army of ants moving in unison like that. That is Rwanda. But it takes so much. I agree. There's also an iron fist behind all that stuff. But it takes real work. The man know they sleep. His team know they sleep. There's no world. No. If you enter, you walk and you see the results. So what do we have today? And yeah, we now want to have vision. Is it vision 2050 or something like that?
Dr. Jack, you're out of bands. No more. Allow us, I beg. So back to my original question. I think Yamo answered.
Well, I think I said hospitality.
Hospitality, okay.
If I speak quick fix, they'll bring dollars, people from the diaspora. Even December is coming.
Because there's something I always say. No matter if you are really like loaded, like rich, that you can park yachts in Miami, $100 million Miami. If you have real money, can you really spend it or enjoy it in Nigeria? When we talk about hospitality or luxury, like
that is why I said go and look at that. My strategy is an integrated, and I think they brought in experts from Germany to help them put it together. So from when you are coming in, from the limousine service that you are meeting, from the people who are providing audio equipment, there's a very detailed, integrated strategy underpinning that entire thing. It's not happening by chance. This new Bugasera airports that they are doing with Emirates, it's not by chance now. They want to convert that place into a hub. Or is it Emirates or Qatar?
Dr. Jeff, we have a last year.
Anyways, Tokumbo, I know that you are a reasonable person. Leave that unreasonable individual. Someone said, yes, Nigerians like enjoyment. The richest man in Africa, his house, I'm not possible. His house cannot be up to $5 million or $10 million. His house in VI is not up to $10 million. I don't care what they used to build the house. Go to Beverly Hills and see what's happening there. Go to Cape Town.
You know, one thing we forgot to actually address in this conversation was purchasing power parity. What you said just reminded me of it.
Okay, true. Fair.
The valuation of the house in the US has no bearing on the actual value. It's a question of purchasing power, local basket of goods and all of that. Organa wood, then they use build house America. Waiting be the valuation of the house. What brings the valuation?
If roof just come up before, excuse me something. We will start your diaspora war today, and I don't have your energy. So
if you stamp your leg on the ground, that place you are now, all of us will be hearing echoes. Now wood.
Do you have water? Oh yeah, I challenge you. Go and drink your water. Enter your kitchen and drink water.
I will drink it. Too. I will drink it. I don't live in Flint.
Okay,
yeah, let's go there.
Can you see? This is what we have to deal with every week. Tokumbo.
So guys, so when we say hospitality, right? For instance, there was a time I was very ambitious. I wanted to do an event center, right? I had some problems. So, but when I sat down with some guys in the US, I realized that those event centers are not solo. They are parts. People who create them, and it's either you have a sports franchise that operates out of the place, and then it's put in a circuit of centers. So when they say, for instance, that Michael Jackson is going on a world tour, right? He's going to perform in specific arenas across the world, which are part of that network. So there's a calendar. So, I mean, I realized that, before, it's only when you try to get into something that you realize how, I don't know, how detailed and how the expertise is required.
Yeah.
And they will tell you that you need to have a given number of deluxe rooms in that center, a given number of VIP rooms in the center, and things like that, right? So my point is, if the hospitality that we are going to, if we want to go into hospitality, let it not be the way we're going into rice farming.
No, I think
Where-
Bola's hypothesis was we're putting money, real money. We're printing money to solve
But
it.
like, okay. Where's the 5-star hotel in Nigeria, or the where are the like?
No, we don't have one, but we'll build. Isn't that why you said what should we fund? So
Okay,
we'll fund
Yes,
it.
now. Yes.
so because I'm telling you, if you have real, all the people, Justin, if you want to enjoy
No,
life,
I think we'll fund it. I mean, I went to Gurara
So for instance,
and it's really nice.
So for instance, you can
Where?
even create like
Gurara.
the my strategy.
Where is that?
Okay. Where is that?
Gurara is in Niger. Gurara Fault is in
Okay.
Niger, so it's not like
Yeah.
it's nice on its own, but they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
They've not put
But
it.
yeah, so this is the point. So when you have that Gurara, you create a circuit around it. So there's
An
Gurara,
ecosystem.
there's this,
Yeah.
there's that, and events around it. So rather than have Coachella, for instance, you can have Justilla, where you bring all the artists and looking at his favorite Elashe, right? Then all the artists and then those are the things. So, but there has to be a strategic framework. That's the point I'm trying to make. And there has to be collaborations and partnerships.
Fair. It makes sense.
You know what? There was something Yamo was saying earlier. And she said she was about exchange. He said whether she was by God's grace or something. Part of our problem is that we have a believing God physical policy.
This conversation has gone far.
I watched your
I'm going into religion
TED
now.
Talk. I watched his TED Talk. Don't mind it. I watched his TED Talk. I guess I'm going.
No, but the hospitality point is a crucial one, though. I think it's not hospitality in general, but like Nigerians, we forget that when we're trading, it's not just goods, like services and like people are a large part of trade. So if you want to earn forex, don't just think of making agriculture to sell rice to, like, you can also think of how about exporting our people India style. You have a customer service representative, you build a whole strategy around its possibility. Tourism, build a whole strategy around it, another possibility. But that mentality of, okay, there's also services that we can sell to earn dollars is a good starting place to also start thinking. Because Nigeria has too many people. Like, we don't have we don't have capital.
Tokumbo, do you realize that we're already exporting doctors, but there's no strategy around it?
Well, it's the strategy that's missing.
That one is survival.
Hold on now. Yes.
No, I agree. I mean, even all the tech bros that are developing, you're technically exporting their talent.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yamo, breaking news. Tech bro is actually not for men. So yeah, a tech bro too. Before you start.
Me, I don't even work in tech.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't work in tech.
Like,
I don't even work in
tech.
tech.
Bola, let me tell you why the doctors own it very painful.
Yeah, in this space.
Their education is actually subsidized.
Really? My cousin is a cosmetic surgeon in Atlanta. I know exactly. He went to Lasucon and he practices in Atlanta now, and I know how life is good to him. So I think about his mates. Look at how much some people spend as much as 200,000 USD to get a medical degree.
Exactly. and we're here complaining about the cost of education. So we need to find a way to make money out of. So this one is not like they are now running away. This one we want to be creating them and shipping them to those countries that need them.
So is it Dr. Jack? Is it we'll put chips in all the doctors? So when they reach airports, it's just they won't allow them. They won't allow them to leave because I don't know how we are going to do it all. But it's true. I'm seeing conversations about this everywhere. Your medical education in Nigeria, I don't care. You don't feel it's 10,000 USD for all the years you spent in school. And you're gone. We are saying that we don't have enough doctors in Nigeria. There are doctors that are going abroad. If we know that that's what's going to happen, let's just monetize. Huh?
No, so Justin, I'm not giving this deep thought, but I'm saying that there's a demand already. We know there's a demand. There's a demand, and that's why
Saudi comes to Nigeria to recruit. UK comes to Nigeria to recruit. Let's forget the ones that go on their own. These people are actually coming to recruit.
So let's find out how we can make. Say we want to earn FX. So you use what you have now. We want to be competing on somebody's or whatever. This is what we have. How do we make money out of it?
track
That'll be a tough
anybody.
nut to crack.
Track anybody that has gone to a government university to study medicine. You can't leave the country unless somebody is paying for something.
Okay, calm down. You're calming down. If they tell you this one in America now, you carry placard and enter street.
America is not
They didn't
Nigeria.
go. They
How many Americans? How many Americans they go to
Justin,
school?
Justin, those guys have student loans. So those
Exactly what I was
guys,
going to
people,
say.
adults, that they are still paying student loans. They have not finished paying.
So when we say our own is subsidized here, it's not because there's a direct subsidy to the students. Parents are still paying the fees, right? The subsidy we're talking about here is that the cost of education in Nigeria is not market driven, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why it has a reflection on quality, generally speaking. So
Correct.
in the current situation, I really, even if we give ourselves time to think through it, to the extent that, I mean, people paid their way through, even if we agree that that cost is a fraction of what it would be anywhere else in the world, I don't see how, even though I know Bola said it in jest, but I don't see how we can feasibly constrain people to even do income sharing with Nigeria.
Babajide said, release clause and transfer fees. I mean, if you want to go from one club to another,
is it Barcelona? Is it Barcelona versus Man U?
It is. Oh, it is.
MFLE called it. Is it heterodox or something? Whatever. We need to invent. We need to come up with our own solutions.
True.
We need to come up with our own solutions. We have peculiar strengths. We have peculiar strengths, right? In coming up with this, we are mimicking other jurisdictions, which is not a bad thing. My late father used to say that the best way to success is by meditation, but the fastest way is by imitation. So when you finish the imitation, right, try and meditate. Think about what you have. How can I create something out of it? And this Dr. On, I just said it off the cuff. I'm sure there are several other things like that somebody will come up with and they'll say, no, it's a crazy idea. But we need to begin to create this.
It's true.
What we want to do, we need to earn effects. We need to find our strengths, and from there, right now, with all the noise about rice and etc., we don't have a comparative advantage. Our yield per hectare
it's like you don't eat rice, Abi. You don't eat rice at all. You don't eat carbs. You look like someone that does not eat rice.
You know rice. You know this rice. They use it to do. I don't know whether they use rice to do juju for us in this country. Do you know that in 1983, as I remember as a child, that we had a presidential task force on rice in 1983, headed by Umaru. Presidential task force on rice. Is it that they use rice? Everything is always linked to rice. So rice is clearly very important to us. Do you understand? This rice self, is it? Our great forefathers, they have rice.
Anyways, we've gone. Believe it or not, guys, we've gone 2 hours.
The point I'm trying to make. In Eastern Nigeria, we had yam. Yam was a staple, right? In fact, a strong man is known by the size of his yam band, right? So at some point, we must have had a yam advantage.
Yeah,
we could have exported yam, but we're not doing that. But we are focused on rice. So my own is, let's find those things that we have an advantage now.
You know, I never thought about this rice thing. It does look like an obsession. Let's be honest. Especially when we start with these jollof wars and stuff. It really does feel like an obsession. Do you guys agree?
I mean, we eat it now, so the government wants us to make
it
ourselves.
feels like there's something.
You guys are the ones that like it.
But it feels something like it feels almost like where it's like a unit of economics or something. We are really attached to rice. Yes. I don't know, maybe Justin has.
I don't think we eat rice the most in the world. We just refuse to make it efficiently.
And we don't even produce it efficiently. Our use per hectare is very low. So it's not as if there's anything.
Yeah, if we're so serious about it, like, let's make it right, since we love it so much. But we do.
All right. Okay. So at the end of the day, guys, I think what our focus should be is on what the things we can do that will ensure that we earn foreign exchange, right? And earn it in such a manner, we do the thing in such a manner that we can compete globally so that people will buy our product.
Is earning the only thing, Dr. Jack? Is earning the only thing, or deployment of that, or what we earn? Like, let the money work for us in the country. Because
I agree.
people earn money, they find, as fast as they earn it, they're looking for ways to put it in dollar to get it out. Like, how can we, you talk about ecosystems, like, how can we earn the forex in the country, and then it goes around the ecosystem, and it goes from me to Justin, and Justin is doing something else, and he does business with Tokumbo, and Tokumbo comes to Dr. Jack and Yamo. Like, how can we, like, because I feel like one of the things I feel like was in Nigeria is, because our problems many, we will typically just focus on a sector of it, try to, as much as we can, to get on with that, and then see the rest is there. Okay, we have all this forex now, we have the money now. How do we democratize the movement of the money? And not everybody's going to be rich, right? People are going to be rich, some people are going to be poor, but some people just need to be viable economically. So I feel like we may be caught up with, okay, let's earn the money. Now we earn the money. So where do we go from there?
No, but the reason why the money is living in the first instance is because you haven't done those. If you have done those things you are supposed to do, the money will, why would I keep my money in Nigeria? Which was the point I was trying to make earlier when I talked about the refinery. Somebody says that the refinery will conserve dollars. So I said,
I want to do it on that refinery one day, because I said I've been dodging that because I don't want to.
So wait, so I said, if I were the owner of the business, why would I keep my Naira in a place where it will lose value, my money, my earnings, because it's Naira? I know that given what is happening, the exchange rate can move against me and all that money will disappear. So I'm going to take it out. If I don't take it out, I'm going to reinvest it in an asset that will be a store of value.
More stable asset, yeah.
More stable asset. So the point is that if we fix all those, Yamo has talked about power and those other things.
Feedback.
Yamo, I think it's from you. It might be from Yamo.
I'm getting some feedback.
I just had to change my AirPods just died. So that's probably why. Is it better?
It's kind of better now.
Because it's a feedback loop. So it's when sound is coming. Are you using your speakers?
I think my AirPods just died. Let me swap.
Oh, okay. Anyways, let's
So if we solve those problems, right, people will want to keep their money and their investments in Nigeria. People are taking it out because they feel that if they the money here is going to be worthless after a while. I think that's the point I'm trying to make.
Which is also leads to some of the things I was saying about what can you really put, like, if you really have cash, what are the things you can put your money in a country? Which, so like you said with Rwanda, it's an ecosystem, it's a cycle. Everything, like you said, it's a mosaic. Everything connects and works together. Like, if I have a lot of funds and I say, okay, I can't even go to a 5 or 7 star hotel, whatever, in Nigeria, or I can't like spend money on certain luxury that, okay, just for self-fulfillment. Not that I'm bragging, even though people like to brag, but like I get money, like, other than you go to parties and you spray $1 or you spend $1, where can you really say, okay, I want to spend my money in Nigeria?
Well, this your question is a very personal question. I see that you take it.
I don't understand.
Yes,
I'm going to party and spraying $1.
Yes.
I don't understand. What the heck?
I'll look for Justice Trouble again. Sorry, one Naira.
I don't understand.
Justin, don't worry. Just act like you didn't hear what I said, because you start fighting me again. It's not as if I'm Donald Trump. But anyways.
Well, you can bring your money, come and invest with Bamboo. By the time you have access to other investment options, US stocks, or Nigerian stocks, when we have our aim is to give access to real returns. So when Nigerian assets are giving above inflation returns, we'll also give you. So just invest with Bamboo if you don't know what to do with your money.
Oh. You guys have heard it all. Invest in Bamboo. So let's we spent about 2 hours now. It's been fun. We didn't even get to purchasing power parity. I don't know. Maybe you guys want to spend your closing. I don't know if you guys want to spend your closing out maybe I give everyone. Let's give everyone 2 minutes to kind of close it out. I'll give you your final points, thoughts. But I really want to appreciate and thank everyone that joined. This was really good. I kind of felt it would be good, but it was it was actually funnier than I thought. And Dr. Jack, I don't understand you.
I don't like the way you're calling my name.
Sorry.
And you're the one looking for a place where you're going to spray $1 and just Angela have a good time.
I've looked for trouble.
Frame is illegal.
Justin, you are not allowed to use whatever I said on this show against me. Yeah, no, because I just said that's not your way. But so everyone, please give us maybe two minutes max. It's been a long show already, but it was really good, insightful. Lots of things to learn from. I'm sure even people when they listen to the replay, they'll get 1 or 2 insights. So please, 2 to 3 minutes, 2 minutes probably, give us closing. I don't know. Yamo, do you want to go first this time?
I feel like I sort of already said my closing remarks. I think all our talk has shown that this exchange rate thing is going to be stressful. Hopefully, we sort it out, we fix it, because none of us want to live in Nigeria at 1,000 naira to $1. But until then, investbamboo.com.
Invest Bamboo.
Invest in Bamboo. Yeah, and when we do sort everything out.
Well played.
When we do sort everything out, you'll still be able to invest with Bamboo because we'll have Naira options for you. But yeah, investbamboo.com. That's my plug. And thanks for having me. This was actually a lot of fun.
It's investinbamboo.com, right?
It's investbamboo.com.
Invest
and bamboo.
Okay.
One word.
Okay. So I know where to keep my dollars.
Yeah.
So you're one of the people that's been hoarding dollars.
Nobody has sent me anymore.
I think Tokumbo is being given away for us.
I guess final thoughts then. I guess I'll just leave with.
Don't worry.
Yes, nobody wants to live. Can you hear me?
Everyone will get your premium. You plug it on, so don't worry.
No, I'm not going to do a plug. I'm just going to end on exchange rates. So I know we don't want 1,000 naira. I just want to remind everybody that we also don't want 1 naira equals $1. That will also be a very bad place, right? Like imagine how expensive Nigeria. Like nobody buy anything from Nigeria anymore. Like, we'll be done as a country. So this over fixation on exchange rates, like both the government and us, we kind of need to like reduce it a bit.
Chill out.
Yeah, like we like exchange rates way too much. We prefer it to all other variables. We like it more than GDP. We might like it more than power. If you're talking about power generation, 4,000 out of capacity of 13,000, that's what we should be talking about more. But I really enjoyed this conversation, and I think hopefully it has helped people understand the situation with Forex. And I also would say that we should obviously continue having these types of talks, educating ourselves, and hopefully Buhari and team would hear some of our cries.
Yeah, you mentioned it like that. Okay.
We hear some of our cries, and this kind of stuff will actually lead to some influence. And
please,
we're seeing signs that
where can you find your website and the premium content?
Oh, steersng.com. STEARSNG.com. Actually, if you Google Steers business and then exchange rates, we have a very good article on this. It's free. It's a free article, so I'm not plugging the premium. Just Google Steers business exchange.
No, but people
like at least 5 articles.
I see people in the comment section. Talking about premium. Guys, creative people in broadcasting. I know some men of God are abusing us, but people should learn to pay for content too.
You have to pay for content. Just because it's online doesn't mean if you shawarma now, nobody will complain about
nobody will talk about premium. Do they give you shawarma? Do they give you shawarma for free?
Continue. Me, I'm standard $1. You, I'm talking about shawarma. Don't worry, that comes to your inbox. That comes to your inbox. All right. In fact, just it looks like we need an honorary chairman for serious banter. I think that we have our I think that we have our chairman. There's no way in hell this is the only time I'm going to have him on the show. In fact, it's going to be an abomination. Dr. Jack.
Okay, so my parting shot. I know this is a bit cliched, right? But so long as cargo vessels come into Nigeria laden with goods, right, and leave empty, we can never solve this FX problem, right? And then how do we ensure that they leave fully laden, the cargo ships fully laden? There are basic things. We cannot be talking about exports when we have logjam, traffic logjam on that Apapa road. It's not, it shows there's a total dissonance between what we want to achieve and how we're going about it. We can't be talking about generating effects when somebody who is exporting cashew will have his products rot or decay you are exporting yam, and before he gets his destination, he has sprouted. We can't be. So there are certain things that we need to do.
So exporting yam sprouts.
Yes, to make it easy for the people who want to export this, to export them and earn the effects. Yamo has talked about power. We can't even overemphasize that one. We know that the people, there's a cost to generating power to produce these things. So let's come back to brass tacks. Let's stop the highfalutin slogans and sloganeering. Let's look at the things, basic things we need to do. Do we need to ensure that Calabar Port is operating efficiently? Do we need to ensure that Onitsha Port is? We need to make it easier for people who want to export things to export. And that's how we end FX. Thank you.
Thank you so
Justin,
much.
You can send that other thing to Port Harcourt as agreed.
No, I'm actually going to hand deliver it myself. I already told you, so don't even worry. You can be charging me. You can be charging me demurrage in the meantime. But Jack, tell us a bit more about what you're doing at as a consultant now at Alliance Consortium, and I know you're doing a bit
Lithium Alliance.
Lithium Alliance. Thank you, and
okay.
a bit more about what I know you're doing some stuff with LBS and Co, because a lot of people are listening, and I'm sure they want to follow you and get to hear more about your thoughts.
This is typically what happens. Like, who is that guy? Don't worry.
Okay. So
Bola, you have an echo. I can't hear. Speak into your mic, Bola. You have an echo.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
You forgot you had a mic, Abby.
So let me start with what I do with LPS. When I was in my doctoral thesis was on regionalization and internationalization of Nigerian firms, right? Because I felt there were issues and there was a gap in the research. A lot of the research is on internationalization of firms out of North America, Europe, and even South Africa, right? But very little out of Nigeria. Basically because Nigerian firms did not start internationalizing on time. It was only when we started accumulating wealth and capital. So when I came back to Nigeria from Rwanda in 2016, I felt it was something that would be of value to a business school in Nigeria, because a number of Nigerian firms have started internationalizing. So I made a couple of pitches to Lagos Business School. It didn't work out then, but ultimately they then asked me to come in. I started facilitating a session on doing business in Africa for the executive MBA and executive MBA and modular executive MBA and regular MBA students. Okay, so that's what I do on the LBS side. On the License Alliance side,
we can call you a lecturer now, Abi.
Hopefully one day, maybe prof. Hopefully, you know me. I don't want to be spraying $1 at these things. Or I just want to be wearing a tweed jacket and leather patches, and every morning, good morning, professor. Yes, how are you? Good morning, professor. That's what I want to do. My life, I don't want plenty this thing. So on the License Alliance side, right? License Alliance is a financial advisory and management consulting firm. So we do strategy. We help we do governance reviews and corporate strategy reviews for firms. We've done for quite a number of firms, major firms in Nigeria. We also do capital raising. You know, I was talking about raising money for DFIs, for private institutions, and somebody mentioned that they tend to on-lend directly to commercial banks. So what we are doing, because I'm on the board of Business Partners International, and Business Partners International is an SPV that DFIs have given money, and they are now on lending to various whatever. So that's an idea that I've been tinkering with for Nigeria, because that model is not really strong here in Nigeria. So I'm starting off with Lysom Alliance as an aggregator of sorts to help SMEs raise capital from DFIs, right, to finance their projects. And hopefully at some point, we'll get to a point where we can then aggregate pool of funds for targeted sectors within the Nigerian economy. And the idea is that is not to provide capital, but to provide technical assistance, because a lot of times it's not just the capital that's the problem. They need the skills. They need to see how some of those things they want to do operate in other jurisdictions. And it costs money. And it's not money that you can bring up from working capital. So when you have institutions that are willing to fund it, that's one place that we can look at. So in a nutshell, that's what I do that puts food on my table.
Oh yeah, send us dollar now. Development dollar. Dr. Jack, you know that development money is sweet.
So in a way,
that compliance money, if they bring you in to make them compliant, we know the dollar.
See, in a way, I don't go around spraying $1, but when the exchange rate moves up, it favors me. You understand? It favors me, but because I'm a patriotic Nigerian, I want to make sure. But when it goes up, when you are doing this, I make it go. It favors me.
Which state did it make it go? Which state did it make it go? Oh, all right, Justin. I'm not sure you have anything left, but if you have any more bullets in the holster, you can fire. You can fire on. But again, we want to thank everyone for joining. Yamo, thank you so much. God will continue to bless your ministry. with new users. Talking about more, I heard that you guys signed up a governor, a state governor.
Oh, yes. You guys follow your leaders, though. Follow your leaders.
That was a business model, though. Don't go and be speaking grammar like all these tech bros that don't have money. Enter all the states, sell them premium, all of them, the ministry, all the directors, it should be on stairs business.
Let them learn.
Don't go and be doing kineo. Don't be doing tech bros and be speaking English. Those are the people that will buy bulk premium subscription from stairs.
True.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't say anything about government, so I don't tell you anything about government. So you know. But yeah, Justin unfortunately just dropped off. Probably he'll be back on in a second. But yeah, thank you guys so much. This was a lot more fun than I thought.
No, yeah.
I don't.
Thank you for having us.
I don't know if it's coming back, but I don't want to hold anyone else, but he'll probably come back in a second. But if you guys want to drop off, feel free to do. Thank you so much for joining. Again, like I said, next week we'll be talking about. Okay, he's coming back on. Next week we'll be talking about tourism, and we're still finalizing the guest list. So Justin, close us out and tell us what you're looking forward to.
All right. Sorry, I went off for a minute there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Jack. Thank you, Yamo, for taking our time to come on. And as always, when we start, it's almost like 2 hours of talking. But hey, we're on 2 hours 27 minutes. We're 2 hours 27 minutes, and it's almost as if the conversation could go on. I mean, we almost never touch on everything that we want to touch, but it's okay because we don't like to structure the conversation. We like the free-flowing style and all of that instead of constraining it. Because I'm saying that because purchasing power parity was something I really wanted to talk about, but then what it simply means is that we'll probably have to do another show that focuses on it because that's the one that touches people. And I feel it doesn't get enough airplay.
Yeah,
Most of the time
we're gonna do that.
we focus a lot on, like Tokumba was saying, everybody is anal about the exchange rate issue. But a lot of people don't realize that at street level, what you should concern yourself with is purchasing power parity. What does your Naira get for you? Because it's not like all of us get the money and run to Yamo and say, Yamo, go and invest for me in America. There are some people that actually still keep their Naira in Naira, right? And the question for those people is, how much is the value? Yes, how much can I buy with my... And yes, a significant part of our lived experience is impacted by the dollar, but I still feel that there's a whole lot that happens without that impact. And the more we amplify that conversation, the more people are conscious of it and take decisions that affect them positively in that regard.
Yeah.
Having said that, thank you again, everybody, for coming on. This was fantastic. Great views, great insights. But I don't know what we're up with next week.
I already told you now. We're doing tourism next week, even though you refuse to acknowledge my idea. We're doing tourism. Whether you like it or not, you better go and learn about tourism.
Yeah. So, but you know the kind of week I've had. So today's show was really special in the sense that, so typically Bola and I would have sessions before the show and all that, but we actually haven't talked for like a week because I've been on the road and he will send me chat and sometimes I'll leave him on red. Sometimes when I'll just say okay, but don't call me out now. You understand? You know what's up.
I know,
but we'll talk about it. And besides, let me say it in front of everybody now. I back your idea. In fact, run that show. I'm just going to call. In fact, I want to be a guest on that show.
When they be us popping at tourism, they do. I bring us popping on the show. You from with his orange.
I'll have network issues.
No, we don't want network issues. But I'm trying to get to a couple of people, and we'll talk about it because before you know now, you're gonna bring us another guest that will be our new chairman of the show. Dr. Jack, I'm coming inside your DM. I don't go anywhere. Maybe bring me to Port Harcourt.
All right, so you're on the 10:30 mark. I guess we should say bye to the.
All right, thank you guys so much.
To the streaming audience.
Yeah.
And let's go back room.
All right, thank you so much, and see you next week, same time, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. West African time. Cheers, guys.